Well, hello friends, pro-life leader Frank Pavone here, bringing you my daily diary segment covering the days of Monday, October 23rd through Saturday, October 28th of 2023. What did I do? So on Monday the 23rd, I was at my headquarters, at my main office. Had to do various early work, email work throughout the day, dealt with things like our social media accounts, reviewing some maintenance matters with our social media team. I always give ideas and input and get reports from them too, of course, about how they're being maintained. Travel planning meetings for upcoming trips and follow up on past trips. Fax going out to all the churches across America. Wrote and gave approval to that in conjunction with the staff person who handles that. Fetal development resources, always improving those on our website for you and others to use. The week of prayer and fasting, the International Week of Prayer and Fasting, beginning that day, was working with staff to make sure that the talk that I taped for that particular event was getting out far and wide. Talking with my staff about the Name the Children project, an ongoing effort that gives people an opportunity to give names to aborted children who would otherwise be unnamed, but every person deserves a name. And our spots for Right Side Broadcasting Network that I tape and that they utilize, working with staff on making sure we're continuing to produce good spots. Working on Radio Maria, our Radio Maria program. I taped a segment for that. Had a taping with, well, first of all, I had some meetings with staff after our morning 8:30 staff briefing. Did a taping with Janet here in the studio, and then a meeting with that was at 11, meeting with her and our executive manager at 11:30, just about upcoming plans and projects. Got some lunch, did more taping here in the studio in the afternoon, including a 2 o'clock taping for my Right Side Broadcasting program and some other matters. Dealt with some of those email topics I just mentioned to you, connecting with different staff. And then had a special 4:30 phone meeting in terms of pro-life preparation for the holidays. We always help people to connect the holidays with pro-life themes. And then work at my desk with end-of-day staff updates and quiet work into the evening in terms of desk work, signing cards that will be going out and books that will be mailed out and things like that. That was Monday the 23rd. I had to go to bed early because on Tuesday the 24th, I got up at 2:30 in the morning and was picked up at 3 for the airport to the Orlando airport to head to Atlanta, at which point I connected on a flight to Norfolk, Virginia. Why? Because there was a conference taking place starting that day of the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, known as NIFLA, founded by a longtime colleague and friend, Tom Glessner. And this was a conference at which we were exhibiting. So Anthony from our resource department was up there as well with me. We had a great exhibit booth. On the way there, of course, taking my laptop and doing all kinds of email work, I had to do work on the following subjects. Clips, that is short clips taken from our broadcasts that are then disseminated through social media platforms as little summaries of my messages, working with staff who are developing those clips. Approving and advertising a clip for our National Prayer Service in Washington, preparing for a Florida state meeting to oppose the pro-abortion amendment that they're doing in our state. Rachel's Vineyard statistics, communicating with the team there about some of our latest up-to-date stats. Eucharistic brochure and prayer card. We're focusing heavily on the teaching on the connection between the Eucharist and pro-life. Preparation for the 115 Forum, which is our leadership meeting that we coordinate for national pro-life leaders. Making plans for the upcoming pro-life meetings and for our pastoral meetings, and new radio spots as well. And taped some of those actually during my time here before leaving. Now, once I got to Virginia, during these Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was doing two things at once. There was the conference, which I'll tell you about in more detail, and there was also our pastoral team meeting that we have every 6 weeks or so. Usually I'm not traveling during the pastoral team meeting, but this time the conflict was unavoidable, so I did both. And so once I got there, settled into the hotel, settled in with our exhibit booth, Anthony showed me what he had already set up, and the conference began, and so I was there interacting, as I always do, with all the participants, all those that were arriving or had already arrived. There were sessions going on. I was present for all of them, greeted the leadership of NIFLA and other people that were coming. And then, having done all that, when I got on the phone, actually I was taking a walk outside. It was nice autumn weather, cool, and colors on the trees, unlike what we're used to seeing here in Florida. So that was a nice change. And while I was walking, was on the phone with our pastoral team for a 2 o'clock meeting, in which we had the website department give updates about web statistics, our social media department give updates about our progress there, our resource department give updates about our new products and how our existing products are doing in distribution and sales, and then having one of our other website staff tell us about new postings that were on the site. So that meeting was about an hour long. And then I had an additional meeting with our executive director and our Rachel's Vineyard. Now, at this point, I went inside. I was seeing the different conference participants, and I situated myself in the lobby of the hotel to take these next phone calls I'm going to tell you about. And in between them, I was greeting people as they were arriving, pregnancy center directors from all across the country. Meeting with, again, our Rachel's Vineyard team and our executive director. That was a half-hour meeting starting at 3. Then with another one of our pastoral associates who's involved with Rachel's Vineyard and also Silent No More. That was at 3:30 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, a final phone call with our international team, United Nations, Vatican Relations, legislators of other countries, talking with several members of our international team together with our executive director. That was from 4 to 4:30, and then I went back to where our exhibit booth was and continued interacting with the NIFLA conference members, and at that point we had a welcome reception that started for the NIFLA group. I sat down with some of their board of directors. I sat down with one of our medical advisors who was one of the speakers there at the conference, caught up with all of them, and just a tremendous time of interacting with all these people, many of whom have known and interacted with us at Priests for Life for many years. Some time at the booth, people taking some of our materials, greeting everyone. And then, once all that activity concluded, Anthony and I had a late dinner there in the hotel restaurant. And during the dinner, of course, interacting with many other pregnancy center directors who were just arriving. And that was great. That went on all evening long. So that was the 24th. The morning of the 25th started early, again, juggling both our pastoral meetings and also the NIFLA conference. Some of the work I did early on my laptop included things like responding to candidates in different electoral races around the country who are reaching out to us for information, sending out a message about the 2023 elections to our entire email list. It's people call it an off-year election, but we really, every election year, every year is election year, every election is important. That's the mindset we have to adopt. I responded also to a request from a national election activist about Allegheny County in Pennsylvania that has a county executive race, which, although it's a Democrat county, is neck and neck, and that's a good sign. And county executives have a lot of power over elections, so we're informing people about that race, making travel plans for upcoming trips, plans and promotions for Silent No More, especially our January gatherings, preparation of the Travelogue, one of our monthly mailings that goes out from Priests for Life, and okaying more material for our prospecting mailing where we get new people connected with our organization. So I had a morning briefing with our staff, which included updates from Rachel's Vineyard team, including our founder of Rachel's Vineyard, Teresa Burke, who is a full-time pastoral associate of ours. And we had those updates in our morning meeting, which was very, very good. And as soon as that meeting was over, I went into the NIFLA conference area, our exhibit booth, greeting people there, giving them our materials. Went into one of the sessions, which was a nice medical update from one of the NIFLA medical personnel and guiding the centers in their protocols. Very fascinating stuff to listen to. Had lunch with all the different participants of the conference. The conference provided that lunch. I then went into one of the sessions after lunch with a gentleman by the name of Mark Newman giving a presentation, and he does a lot of work on pro-life apologetics and activation of churches, so it was great listening to him. I sat with Tom Glessner, the head of NIFLA, Attorney Alan Parker, and also some of the other NIFLA staff. So after that, I went out to where our booth is and got some additional work interacting with them. I had another meeting with the pastoral team. I had to jump on, first of all, for an all-staff meeting where we got updates. I gave my update about my travels. We got updates more from our international department, from our technology department, from Silent No More, from our Washington, D.C. ministry, and from our communications director. So I listened to all those updates over the phone while going in and out of these other, in between going in and out of these other sessions of the conference. As I said, we had lunch together with the conference participants. In the afternoon, more activity at our booth. Then I had to step aside for conference call at 2:30 and again at 3. Now these were Zoom calls, so I had to go to my room for these. We had on a special guest by the name of David Schaefer with a ministry called Mary's Town, and he addressed our pastoral team and me, and I introduced him to them and them to him. Very, very fruitful conversation. And then also from one of our strong priest supporters, Father Anthony Mastroianni. We go back decades ago. I was actually one of his students, and he is a very faithful preacher of the gospel and of the Catholic faith. So after that meeting, going from about 2:30 till about 3:30, I went back down and interacted with the conference participants. And then among the conference participants is a group of people who are doing a special historical film project on abortion. And you'll hear more about it once it gets closer to completion. But I went up to interview with them for about an hour and did that interview. And then went back down to our booth where our staff person Anthony was, interacted with more of the conference participants. And then after interacting with them for about an hour, Anthony and I had a dinner meeting off location with Mr. John Stemberger, who is the head of the Florida Family Policy Council. We know him, of course, from being here in Florida, but he was also at the NIFLA conference. So we had a nice dinner meeting together, which was very fruitful and caught up on a lot of things. So that concluded our Wednesday, October 25th. Thursday, October 26th, the NIFLA conference continued. And I had to start the day, of course, early, as always, checking in with my staff and also with my emails. Things in regard to staff who handle the organization of our many photos. You know, photos are powerful, and they give a historical and inspirational perspective on things. And so I talked with some of our staff who are organizing photos, gave further approvals to our travelogue, one of our upcoming travelogues. Talked with our communications director about Christmas-related columns, opinion pieces that we're preparing for different publications as the Christmas season draws close, and the many connections between Christmas and the unborn, and also followed up with our team in terms of calls being made into Pennsylvania for some of their local elections. Then at 8 o'clock in the morning, I had a radio interview. So I went outside to a nice quiet spot, was walking up and down from 8 to 8:30 doing that radio interview, and then right when that concluded, hopped on the phone at 8:30 with my staff for the morning briefing, which was an extended briefing because, again, we're in the midst of our pastoral team meetings that take place every 6 weeks or so. Got updates from our fundraising department, from Father Dennis Wild, who's been a pastoral associate for 25 years, from our communications director again, and also from our senior vice president, Jerry Horn. Those meetings finished at about 9:30. I went to the conference participants and interacted with them at our booth and all the different activities of the conference, and did that for the rest of the morning. Had lunch with the conference participants as well, and great interaction with everybody. Then at 2 o'clock, had to jump onto a call with our pastoral team relating to election activities and strategies. Did that with them. I did this actually from the lobby of the hotel. And then a meeting following immediately after that, our monthly readings. And we had read the book, The Scalpel and the Soul, the story of the conversion of abortionists Haywood Robinson and Noreen Johnson, whom I helped in their journey of conversion. And we had the pastoral team discuss their book. Then I went back into the conference, attended one of the sessions given by some of the NIFLA legal team, and again, fascinating conversations. And then I had great discussions with other pro-life attorneys and medical personnel who were presenting at the conference, and did that all throughout the rest of the afternoon. And then we had to start packing up the booth and preparing also for the evening banquet, the Celebration of Life dinner. So we had that from 6 to 8 p.m. And at my table, I sat with Tom Glessner, the president of NIFLA, and Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears of Virginia, who was the keynote speaker for that evening's event. So it was nice catching up with her, who had met several times in the past, and she knows about our Priests for Life work and all the different things that we are doing. I think I neglected to mention one other thing, just to show you the structure of these days. When I first landed in Norfolk for this conference, I, on my way to the hotel, getting checked in, I got checked in, but then before I started interacting with the conference, I had a phone call with a reporter from USA Today at 11:30 on that first day, followed by a phone call with a pro-life leader from the West Coast at 12:30, followed by a staff briefing with one of my staff that handles what we call the end-of-year wrap-up tasks for the organization. Very important stuff. And those were the only extra meetings I see here. Then on Friday the 27th, it was a travel/work at my desk kind of day. So the conference had finished the night before, so we're on Friday the 27th now, and I was still at the hotel in Norfolk, so I got up and I connected with my staff, and I had a nice half a morning of work, interacting on the phone with this different staff, writing a column for lifenews.com about the conference, got that prepared, sent it off to Steve Ertel, worked on the streaming broadcast schedule for the week, worked on it in the sense of reviewing it from the staff who put it together, giving approvals, giving some adjustments, another parish fax being prepared for the churches and sent out, approval being given for email to be blasted out to hundreds of thousands of people, approval of the 2024 prayer intentions that'll be published each month in our various newsletters, and also preparation for the January newsletter. We're already focused on that. Then at about 10:15 in the morning, the car came to bring me to the airport, and this time flew out to Detroit. And Detroit was my next stop because I was going to be speaking there the next day. So I had that flight to Detroit midday, did some work on the plane, got there, got to the hotel in Detroit Airport, and settled in for some extensive work there as well. And again, interacted with my staff and preparing for upcoming broadcasts and trips and things like that. Good, fruitful afternoon and evening of work. And worked up until about 8 p.m. when I went down for a late dinner in the hotel restaurant and had a phone call at that time with Mark from our administrative team, getting all kinds of end-of-day updates from him. And that brought me to the conclusion of Friday the 27th. Slept in the hotel. The morning of the 28th, got right on my computer with some work with regard to the November-December plan. You know, towards the end of the month, I always work on intensive planning for the following month, and did that with the November and December together. Did also a communication about the event schedules for upcoming trips, and also meetings I need to have with staff when I get back. Then they picked me up at 9 a.m. I did all this work in the earlier morning. 9 a.m. I was picked up for the legislative update luncheon that I was the main speaker for, and this was for a group called Right to Life Lifespan of Michigan. So we were gathered at a local event center. I got there, greeted everybody. We had a table, exhibit table of some of our literature there as well. Very happy to see individually so many people from around the state of Michigan who have been active in the pro-life movement for so many years. So many of them I had met before at previous events. Then I gave my talk. It was about an hour, including questions and answers. Then we had our lunch. Then we heard from one of the very strongly pro-life state representatives who also spoke. Then I interacted with the people individually as they got my books. They wanted me to sign the books. We answered further questions that they had. It was a great, great time. So that lasted several hours into the mid-afternoon. I was driven back to the hotel at about 2:30 and got back to the hotel just in time for a 3 o'clock pre-scheduled phone call with Sister Dee Dee Byrne, who many of you know. Sister Dee Dee talks around the country on pro-life, does fantastic work. She's based in D.C. And we taped a pre-recorded message that she gave for our national prayer broadcast to be done the next day. And so I took care of that and then had several more hours of work there in my room on the kind of things I mentioned already, and especially the November-December plan. There's just a lot to that, getting things scheduled, like tapings of things I'm doing with you now. And then went into the airport terminal and got a 9:15 p.m. flight back to Orlando from Detroit. I slept on that flight. I was ready for a good night's sleep. That I started on the plane. Then I got back to Orlando, was driven to my headquarters, got to bed, and that was Saturday the 28th. So there's my daily diary segment for the 23rd to the 28th of October, 2023. Your pro-life activities are in my prayers as well. Thank you for being part of this great movement. Thank you for following what we do here at Priests for Life. And what I do, this is just a fraction of it. We've got our whole team working hard every day, and they are all grateful for your involvement and your support. God bless you.